All right, hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Maddie B. Going to be talking a little bit playoff season, NBA and NHL. Just off the bat, though, dude had some bad technical issues, so I hope it doesn't affect this. We use Skype to do our calls, and Skype had me locked out, and my audio's been funky when we were doing our pre-check, so we're a few minutes late on the live, but it looks like everything's going. We did a pre-test, and we're just a little bit late. So hopefully there's no issues. We'll have to get sorted out next week if so. Today we're going to kick it off with high tempo. Matt, what do you got?
This weekend kicked off the start of spring football season down in Tallahassee. They're on, Willie Taggart and his staff are off right now. They drew the highest number of, they set a stadium record for their spring game, close to 61,000 fans that showed up for that event. They had a lot of kids coming to visit the campus. It led to a bunch of commitments. As of this morning, they had the number one overall recruiting class in the nation. So it's very early, but I like the fact that there were so many former players and coaches and just overall alumni, Joe. And then I think it bodes well for the new regime and the system that they're putting in place down there.
Nice. On another note, I'll talk about my Wolverines here. There's been some weird stories coming out about one of the players who made some threats on social media. So I just wanted to put that out there that hopefully he gets some help. I'm not sure. I know a lot of the media likes to run with stories like this and throw out outlandish tales, but realistically, the only ones that know what happened are the player and the team and whatever. So hopefully that works out well. I would hate for anyone to get hurt. Unfortunately, Michigan did not have a spring game due to the storms, which I'm going to use as a lead-in to our Steel City update, talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates. Tons of snow in Pittsburgh today. The stadium is basically empty. We had some family there. Some of the Southbound Sports family is in the stadium. And I'll be posting a pic on Instagram after the show today. It is completely empty. And of course, they were quick to defend. Oh, people would be supporting the Pirates. They're 11-5. The only reason people aren't here is because it's snowing, which made me laugh because that's kind of a fair weather thing. Literally, fair weather. When it's a little snowy, even though these Pirates are winning, doesn't matter. I was hoping it was more a sign of the overall organization. You could start hot, but if you still falter, I hope the fans back it up and don't show up for these games. So I'm kind of hoping as a fan, I want to see some commitment. If these players start off hot, I don't want to see us trade anyone during the trade deadline. I want to see us make some moves and try to bolster our roster. You can't cut that much salary and not be in a position to make a move if the Pirates are hanging around second or third place in the Central come end of July. So that's my thoughts on that. Matt, did you watch any baseball?
I did watch a little bit. I think this time of year, I saw Rizzo from the Cubs had advocated a shorter season. I just think this time of year is ridiculous for baseball, and I know that they've always played 1,000 games, and it's just the nature of the sport. But when you're running into the issues that they're having right now with weather and cancellations, and I almost wonder if that's having an effect on some of the injuries that could happen early in the season for players playing in the cold weather like you're having in Pittsburgh now. I don't know if you need to be playing this time of year. I think you could postpone the start of the season. You could spend time either in spring training or doing something south where you have nicer weather, and then transition to some of the home ballparks once the weather starts to break. But I think it's definitely kind of hurting where you have so many postponed games and canceled games due to weather.
I would actually like to add in on that, and I thought about this for a while. I don't think they should shorten the season. There's too much history and tradition, and that means a lot to the people that are old enough to pay for tickets and actually attend games, the ones that are paying for your MLB TV. As a fan, what I would like because it works for soccer in Europe, is for them to go to a year-round model. And I know with some of the location of cities, impossible to play in the winter. But what if you planned it out where it was kind of, I don't want to say they only played on the weekends, but it was more family friendly. This isn't the early 1900s where no one had a TV and barely anyone had a radio. So whenever you're bored at home, you went to the ball game. Everyone has a phone. They can do whatever they want at any time. So you're hurting families by making these games during the weekday that you have to rush from work. Most families, if you leave work at 5 till you would get there and be able to park, you're going to miss the beginning of the game. Till you would go home and sit in traffic, get your family, go to a game. It's almost impossible. I know a lot of people that leave work early to attend pro sports. So why not baseball? The time has passed. Playing every day for how many months in a row just isn't working. I would advocate spread them out. And by spreading them out, then you're able to schedule. You know how we have spring training in the South? Why don't you just have all your northern teams play in the South in the winter, and then in the summer you would kind of make your way back up north and play in those cities and kind of reverse it? Because I'll throw you out there. A lot of people, you can't play in the snow, even though technically in baseball you probably could if there's not that much. Today, with the way snowblowers work and stuff, it's just as bad to play in Florida in the middle of July. Are you kidding me? The weather's like 120 degrees. Who in their right mind wants to sit at a stadium outdoors? I don't care if they have a pond in their outfield or whatever Florida gimmick they have out there. It's crazy. What are your thoughts on that, Matt? I think that's what they should do. Spread it out more. Then you're in the mind. They're not going to get rid of games because they need content. You can cut out all of spring training and even maybe have teams have play in like a minor league park or something. Have like a home away from home where we know Rick on the show. He should be calling in here in a little bit, hopefully. But Rick travels to Arizona every spring to get some spring training in, cheaper tickets. What if the Pirates had a southern city that was kind of like their winter home, and then you're able to get into other markets? Someone else becomes attached to the Pirates. You can also do the same for southern teams, really, if you wanted to in the north. Get into some of these smaller cities, kind of like the NFL's trying to do with like their training camps where they have a home away from home. I know the Carolina Panthers, they were doing theirs in South Carolina for that reason, to try to bring in people from another state to watch the team, become connected to them. Like, hey, we see these guys in the summer, we're going to watch them when it's season time. Just make everything count. There's no reason to have meaningless games. Make everything count, spread it out more. You play how many spring training games and you need less games in a season? Cut those all out and spread it out, and maybe not go year round. I would still like it to end in October because you have some magic there, but start in January. Start in January, play 4 games a week instead of 7. What are your thoughts, Matt?
Well, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with it, and I think it was kind of towards what I was alluding to as well. And I don't know if the answer is shortening. I don't think that they would, but I definitely like that model of getting the northern games, either playing them in domes or playing them in a southern venue where you're able to get those games in early and then transitioning out. I wonder, playing so many games away from home, what that effect does to the local market, because I would assume that then you would have to change, like some of the broadcasting things would have to shift if they, are being more predominantly south. I don't know logistically how some of that stuff would work with the revenue and the ad sharing, especially if it's a local market that's paying for advertisements and then they're not set up in one of the southern states. You may run into those issues, but I think that could possibly be a different set of problems if they were looking to go that route.
Yeah, I'm looking for more attendance. I didn't really think of the advertising type stuff. I think you would make it up in the end, and I don't think fans would become disconnected because you would still see them or have the chance to see them at least once a week during the same months. I just did some quick math here, and it looks like if they played 162 games a year, that leaves like 200 something odd days. So basically 4 off days average per week throughout the year. So you could do 3-game series all year long, or you could even give the players like a month off and do a 4-game series where Pittsburgh travels to, let's say, Miami Marlins for a 4-game series the first week of January. Then they travel to Arizona for the Diamondbacks for a 4-game series. So realistically, you could have enough Southern teams where I think you could make it work. And it wouldn't be blistering hot. Teams could come in, and even if they have the second home away from home, you really wouldn't need to play that many games there. I would think that could only be used for some type of makeup where okay, we missed some early games here due to rain, like some southern rain in the early times. When it's snowing up north, it's usually raining in the south. So then you just make up those games somewhere else. I mean, Pittsburgh already has minor league clubs up and down the coast. They could even just share a stadium with them. I know that Major League Baseball wouldn't appreciate that, but I think it would help draw fans in. People aren't watching 162 games on TV, but just think if there was always a game on every weekend and you could watch, it would become a habit. Like, all right, Saturday night, I put the kids to bed, I watch baseball. You know how hungry we are for football right now. Football realizes you need to be a year-round sport. There's no way football could combat this. If baseball said we're going to play every weekend, year-round, let's say that you just play on Saturday nights after college football or whatever, you put some games on, that's the start of the season, you're up against watching a clunker Oregon kill someone in the Pac-12, like they don't kill Washington State anymore, but like Oregon killing Oregon State. You could watch that, or you could watch some baseball, just switch back and forth just to give people that other option that they don't have right now. Is there anything else you can add in? I don't want to go too long. I already went long enough on that. But I definitely want to revisit that, so I'm going to make a note on that.
I just think if you pushed it into a year-round thing, the only concern that I would have with that is for people like me that are more football diehard, as soon as it isn't close to football related, my interest in baseball is going to drop completely off. And so it really wouldn't matter if it was year-round or that you kept it traditionally. As soon as the football season rolls around, that's where my attention is going to be. That's where, even with our show, that's where the focus shifts. So I see it now, even through the middle of the baseball playoffs, we still are pretty football heavy once that rolls back around, even if it is the clunker games.
Yeah, and that's going to be something that unless they change when the playoffs end, and with a year-round schedule, they technically could. If you made baseball the end of July, I think that's a dead period for baseball. So if you moved up the World Series and you went to like a year-round schedule where you don't play in October anymore, you shift everything back, I would have to do some math and some logistics stuff to actually plan it out to see if it would work. But technically, you push the ending up to July, you're competing against nothing. Maybe an Olympic year, every 4 years you'd come up against the Olympics. I don't remember when that starts. I think World Cup is usually over, right? If that's a World Cup year, I guess we'll have to look at the schedule this year. That ends sometimes in July. But then you would be ending right before preseason football. Or even you could go up against preseason football. I think enough people skip out on that you could get enough. But right now, you're going up against football. Most people tune you out. Your season starts, you're up against NHL and NBA playoffs, which is what we're talking about today on our show. So really, your main time for baseball, summer, nothing important happens until the All-Star game, which All-Star game doesn't mean anything. So your two biggest starts, start of baseball, end of baseball, are in playoffs, or I guess not playoffs for football, but basically football heavy. For college football, that's right in the meat of rivalry time. So I don't think there's anything they can really do with that. And just with the football talk, we'll shift that to I went with the NFL draft instead of sticking with the Steelers topics. It's kind of been a bunker for the Steelers. I haven't really heard too much out of them. Up at this point, everything is speculation. So we're not going to get news unless something drastic happens before the draft, like a big trade or anything. Not that I've heard. I might have missed something along the lines, but Really don't have anything for the Steelers. The main thing is just NFL draft. Everyone keeps talking about these quarterbacks and how heavy it is a quarterback draft. And I don't want to just argue it every week, but I'm not high on these guys. The latest one I've heard is Sam Darnold to the Giants. They already have trouble with Eli. People on the team complain he's not a hard worker, blah blah, all this other stuff. People around the team, he's not a vocal leader. So you have guys like Odell Beckham that can kind of just take control of the locker room. So they're trying to cut him out. You have all this drama. If Sam Darnold went there, I honestly think it might be able to work out for him because he wouldn't have the focus on him. I think if he goes to a team like the Browns or someone where the focus is going to be on him 100%, he is going to be one of the biggest busts of all time. Up there with Ryan Leaf, because he's not going to be able to handle that pressure. But honestly, if he would go to the Giants, not for the sake of him being a perfect backup to Eli or a replacement plan, I just think the spotlight won't be on him with this Odell Beckham drama where he could kind of just smooth right in. And he's already playing behind Eli. You know, if you're playing behind an awesome starting quarterback, I don't want to say elite, but he's pretty good, 2 Super Bowl wins, that you have a chance to learn and sit back and possibly make a good career out of it. So, to be honest, I've been harsh on him over the past couple weeks, but I think a situation like that could work out. Are the Giants crazy for taking him that early? Yeah. But that's what I have for football this week, Matt. What do you got?
A couple pieces. One of the ones was Cowboys cut Des Bryant, and was kind of a surprising move. Curious to see where he lands because there were some rumors that potentially the Giants may be in the sweepstakes for that. I couldn't imagine the circus that would happen as a result of that. The team that I would think is most likely in a position to sign him is going to probably be Baltimore, because he has a troubled past. Baltimore seems to gamble on trying to get weapons for Joe Flacco, and he's that big receiver body that I think Baltimore kind of needs. Not that we want to give them any upgraded weapons, but definitely that would be someone that would help them out if they went out and spent the money on him. The other person, in other news, kind of related to Pittsburgh, was James Harrison retiring. I know at the end there with being released, signing with the Patriots, kind of left a bad taste, but I mean, just rewatch him return the interception from the Super Bowl against Arizona. It really puts things into perspective what he did for Pittsburgh, because during that Super Bowl and during that moment of the game right before halftime where Arizona has a chance to go up, it's a 14-point swing that he picks it off and runs it back, and with the size that he had to be able to take it back, I think it was definitely a highlight and career moment for him that I think could potentially put him in the running for a Hall of Fame spot.
I just want to say that
what do you think?
That was such a great moment, but he blew it. You had a chance to go down in Steelers history as that play. Matt, he could have came back to Heinz Field anytime he wanted. They could have just played that on the Jumbotron, and the crowd would have went nuts. It would have been mayhem. But instead, he's so old that he thought, you know what, I still got it. And he found out with this retirement, he don't got it. No one wants him. So he basically tarnished his name. Because I know it pissed off.
Guess what? He did it 5 years ago when he went to Cincinnati.
Yeah, but he came back. You can do it once, dude, and you can come back. You can't go to the New England Patriots 3 weeks before a potentially playoff matchup and then like post all his Super Bowl stuff, like him chilling with Tom Brady and like Belichick. That's just going to rob Pittsburgh guys the wrong way. I know a lot of legendary Steeler fans were mad. I think not legendary Steelers players were mad. If you go out on social media and do some searches, they were not happy with Harrison. So the fact that he went all out like that, kind of, he made it all about himself. Like, hey, look at me. I can lift 700 pounds on this bench. And I think I told you guys, it's kind of like if you played sports in high school, go back to your high school, like whatever bar, go to like somewhere in the area, maybe a get together, a reunion, and there's going to be that guy that never played sports that's going to be like, hey, I was faster than you. I could bench more. And he'll just talk trash if you played sports. If you played sports, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's always going to be that workout warrior guy. He's probably jacked on roids right now, talking about how he could have been great in high school. And nowadays he's like pumping gas down at the local Sheets and just crazy into weightlifting. That's kind of what James Harrison has spiraled into. He had a name. All he had to do was kind of just fade away and be like, you know what? I'm just going to take this out. And I want to look at someone else who was really into working out, like T.O. Terrell Owens. He was way into media. Look at me. Everyone always complained. Look like how he's looking at him. He doesn't do that anymore. He was like working out with players. He's still working out hard. He's helping people do the league. He's helping charities and all kind of other crazy stuff. And guess what? He gets no press for it, because he's just a great guy. So all the media made him out to be a bad guy. Look at me. And now whenever you actually have a guy like that, James Harrison, they're kind of just letting him fade away. And I think that's where it's going to end. He's going to fade away, and Steelers might welcome him back a few years down the line. But people my age, that highlight in the Steelers Super Bowl is forever tarnished, because I'm going to look at that and be like, damn, that dude went to the Patriots. So every time I see that, I'm going to respond.
Oh,
remember when he signed with the Patriots?
You're full of it. All you're going to see is he's going to...
Go ahead.
You'll say that, but he'll sign a one-day contract. He'll sign his one-day contract. He'll retire a Steeler, and all sins will be forgiven. You know, you look at guys like Kevin Green and Greg Lloyd that left, went to Carolina, that went other places. You've had guys that leave in the twilight of their career because they think that they can go on and play in other places. And where do they end up? They end up back home. You know, I think that there was an interesting point that was made, you know, not to derail this conversation, but when you look at the Le'Veon Bell contracts and the issues, I believe it was Kiesel that was talking about, yes, he definitely could outrageous contract for a lot of money, but why would you got to be careful of chasing the almighty dollar, because with the Pittsburgh franchise and with the Pittsburgh community and the support that people have for the Steelers, there's almost like a college, like alumni type feel to these players. Like you still have like where the guys from the 70s are like hanging out and being celebrated on the field, and some of these other Super Bowl winning, like they're still being celebrated, and you don't see a lot of other franchises do that, where the old players are coming back and they're a part of the program and they're doing things. And for some people, you just have to look at it like dollars and cents pay good as a player, but long term, you know, for your future, for you being remembered, you know, how do you want it all to play out? I think that's something that a lot of players that are playing for Pittsburgh currently really need to analyze and look at.
Yeah, and I agree, and that's why I think he blew his chance, because it is specific to the organization. You have a championship winning team that they've won every couple of decades. So you're right. Whenever the Steelers have won, they're bonds with the players and bonds with the fans. Now, are there some fans out there that aren't aware of the Harrison situation? Oh, 100%. So if he signs a one-day contract, they'll be out there waving their Harrison jerseys, their terrible towels. Some people don't even watch all the games, Matt. So a lot of people probably aren't aware that he signed away just because they're oblivious. They only watch Steelers on Sunday. They don't read any of the other gossip stuff. So yeah, it might be past, but now we're in the social media. So like, I think the older guys, like you mentioned, Kevin Green and stuff, people might have just thought that he retired back in the day because there wasn't a social media and everyone posting and sharing every single thing on Facebook. You know how many like fake news articles I see people post around regarding like sports and like Steelers. Hey, did you know that the refs rigged the game? And then it's like a slow-mo like phantom call, and they shared that stuff. Like Kevin Green and stuff, you might not even have known he was still in the league if you were back in the 90s or whenever he left to go to Carolina, until the Steelers played them once every 8 years or 4 years, whatever the cycle is, and they're like, hey, is that Kevin Green? Didn't he used to play for the Steelers? Because I remember people having conversations like that. Nowadays, it's a little bit easier to know that you can just click on a search a player's name and it will show you every team he played for right there in Wikipedia or whatever. So it's kind of a different era. And he blew it. He blew it because you have a guy like Jerome Bettis. And I'll twist this because I saw this argument. A lot of younger kids don't know this, but when you're a player and you retire, you still have a chance to make money off your name. And I want to use Michael Jordan as an example because I saw some people who didn't know why Michael Jordan isn't in some of the video games or any of the video games. I don't know if he is or not. But they were like, how come Jordan never puts in? Because Jordan didn't sign the NFL or the NBA like name licensing thing. Every year or so, the players can opt in, and then they get a cut of whatever that they license out. So you can do historical jerseys and stuff like that. But Jordan doesn't do that. He sells his own stuff. I mean, he makes it with Nike, Jordan brand, whatever. He makes billions of dollars. He had enough to buy an NBA franchise, basically. So whenever you leave, if you're a name, yeah, you can do that, but you have to play forever and forever. A lot of other guys, if you have a good name, you stay clean in the league, and you get along with players like that, and fans like you, fans will keep you along to the point where you have a name where you can sell your stuff. Some players go into training. I know a lot of baseball guys, they set up little shops around the United States where you can go in and work with like an ex-major league player, and they give lessons to kids. And they make money off their name without actually having to work a real job, even though they're not playing professional. And a lot of other guys get into crazy things. Like if you look up professional athletes' car dealerships, a lot of people bomb from them. They also get into restaurant chains. So there are ways to make money off your name. So in the league, it's probably better. I know they tell you to chase the dollar. It's your only chance of getting it. No. You can still do advertisements. I complained about that stupid Joe Montana advertisement. So he was hurting for money. He's like, all right, let's see. I'm going to get an agent. I'm going to see what's out there. And they're like, here, why don't you just do this and pretend that you have a little dementia and throw this ball against the wall and break one of their art. He's like, all right, got it. And then Joe Montana pass the ball. Like, that has to be his train of thought. He's like, well, I could use some money. I'll do this. Did it ruin his name? For me, yes. You were the cool Joe Montana, Joe Cool. That's not Joe Cool. You're not winning the Super Bowl with that stupid commercial. So I'll end my little rant with that. Matt, you have anything else to add back into that?
No, not after that.
You gotta, even in the NFL draft, if you hurt yourself like Laramie Tunsil, even if he plays in the league for 10 years, do you really think that a company is going to use him as the face of their product? Hell no. If anyone searches his name, that gas bong thing or whatever he had at the draft, that video is going to come up #1 search results probably for all time. So he's going to have to fight tooth and nail for that. So he already blew all of his advertising dollars. So right now, when you're a name, if you're a player listening to this in high school or even college, do what you can to keep your name clean. If you go put your name out there, these other companies aren't going to hire you, especially in today's climate, man. People get cut all the time just for saying stuff on social media. They get their account banned. Heavy censorship going on right now. It's obviously not something we're going to go into on here, but if you look around the internet, you got to stay clean if you're a player. If you're looking for that, because that's where you're going to make all your money. Advertisements. How many old players do you see doing commercials? A bunch. That's how they make their money when they're not getting the game paycheck. So keep clean and stick with that. And with that, we'll end our talk and get into the playoffs. I'm going to start with the NHL. Penguins are up 2-1 on the Flyers. First game last week. I think did we do the show before the game? It was a blowout. I think it was 7-0. Penguins absolutely destroyed the Flyers. And it's the question that's been haunting the team. Playoff fatigue. I almost made it the topic, but I'm going to wait because I think the Penguins are still going to I think we're going to have a chance to get through the Flyers. The second game, Flyers came out, punched the Penguins in the mouth. 5-1, took it to them. And game 3, Flyers did the same exact thing. They came out, they punched them in the mouth, but they didn't get a goal. So they had a ton of shots in the first period, and they were really controlling the game. A couple penalties on Penguins players who were frustrated early, and the Flyers just Matt Murray, beast. He was in beast mode game 3, and to be honest, I think that swung the series. I was nervous getting into it because I had made fun of you guys for taunting me, saying that the city of Philadelphia had the magic. And in the beginning of that third game, I thought, oh God, this is their magic. They're going to win this first game in Philadelphia, have all the momentum going into game 4, where if they win that one, they're up 3-1. But instead, Matt Murray, glove save on one of the breakaways was amazing. And again, if you're a fan, if you don't watch much hockey, go on YouTube. I'm sure it's on there or on the NHL channel. Just type in Matt Murray, Penguins, Flyers, glove save. I'll throw it up on our Twitter. And you'll see amazing breakaway. I think it was actually a botched Penguins power play earlier in the game where Penguins are on the power play. Sloppy passing. That's what's hurt them all year. And finally starting to get it around. They take it to the Flyers end. And to be honest, I think the Flyers gave up. They got a goal, which was it, 3 or 4 minutes left in the second period. Flyers got a goal. I think they were down 3-1 at that point. You would have thought at that point the Flyers crowd was going to get back into it and we were going to have a game. Instead, the stadium was dead. I don't know if everyone left or what, but it got dead. Penguins scored a couple more goals, and the Flyers team, there was no fighting them. So I'll give you a chance to talk here, Matt, but that's pretty much my analysis on the series. I think the Flyers are dead going into this game 4. They have to win it. If they lose it, the series is over. It's just a matter of when. Did you watch any of the games?
Yes, I did. I've been keeping close tabs on. I think one of the things to keep an eye on was the Letang injury. I know a lot of people are making a big deal out of Giroud with the cheap shot. Some people saying that it really wasn't a cheap shot. He was skating into him and it was accidental. But I think when you really watch it, there was an opportunity for him to accidentally get a shot on one of those players, and it was definitely a dirty move. And it's not something that you would think put past them to try to take out someone that is as important to Pittsburgh as Letang was. So hopefully that doesn't keep him out for too long. I don't know what the status of that injury was, but I know it definitely looked bad.
It definitely looked worse than what it was, I think. But I can't remember off the top of my head. I didn't look into it anymore. But that's a good thing. I'll see if I can find it while you go.
Okay. And, I was just more surprised with the amount of firepower. I know I joked, after the first game that I hope they didn't blow all their goals in game 1, where it was just they just looked like they were primed to go for another run. And then you go from the 7-0 beatdown to then having Philly come back and score as many goals as they did in game 2. It was like, which team are you going to get? Are you going to get Dr. Jekyll or are you going to get Mr. Hyde? I think that going forward, I do think that the Pens are going to make it out of this series, but I'm curious to see, are they able to maybe clean up some of the things, not take as many stupid penalties, because I think the penalties and keeping people off Murray is going to be what's going to swing this series, because Philly plays a physical style, that we talked about in our series preview, that contrasts differently to the way Pittsburgh plays. They can't let themselves get sucked into Philly's style and try to be something that they're not. And if they do, that could leave them primed for upset.
Yeah, it looks like Letang is a game time decision, which kind of scares me because they said he wasn't in concussion protocol. I assumed it was some type of concussion. So now I'm a little bit more worried that they didn't come out and say what it is. But he has been skating. I don't know. I just assumed he would be back before the series ended. So now there's more question marks. I'm going to have to do some more research, and I'll tweet some stuff out as I find out. But, yeah, the Penguins got to play consistent, and I think that's where the fatigue thing comes in. Everybody knew going into this year, going deep in the playoffs in hockey is very hard. Now, the Penguins had enough turnover that I thought it's possible. It's up to your star players to deliver. Crosby delivered. He had a hat trick in game 1. I think he got too fancy in game 2. I think that was the one where it was closer, and it was the end of the second period. He ended up breaking his stick, I think, on the goalpost because he was behind the net, and time was running out, and it was a chance for the Penguins to get into the game, and he tried to do a shot off the goalie's back, and Elliott never backed up. And instead of, he tried to get fancy with it, where I think he had enough time and a big enough clearing where he could have just did a hook, and he would easily have made it. But instead, he tried to get fancy, and he got one of those goals in I think it was game 1. He hit one of those goals, and you could see the frustration just boil over. And when game 3 came up, he didn't try anything like that. So I think that might have been another turning point too. Players kind of got hit in the mouth, and they were like, all right, we push these guys over in the regular season. Penguins won 4 of the games, 4-0, I think, was a series regular season. So the fact that the Flyers hit them hard, I think the players now are going to be out. And that's why I think in the third game, you saw them. They took the punch, and I think that was Philly's best punch. It was kind of like the old Rocky movie, just tying into Philadelphia here, where he's like, just take his best punches, and he's like, you can't hurt me. I forget which one that is, but I think, doesn't Rocky yell that one of them? He's like, you can't hurt me. Mm-hmm. You can't hurt me, as he's getting his face pounded, and he's like, come on. It might have been the Mr. T one. You're just taunting him. That's kind of what it felt like for the Penguins this past game. They took all the shots early. Flyers, if they would have got any of those goals on the penalties, and the Penguins, man, you're getting attacked and you're just getting on stupid penalties. What was the one? I forget who it was. I don't want to throw anyone else under the bus, but he punched the guy in the head for no reason, and then he go into timeout. I'm like, are you trying to get them back into this game?
Going into timeout.
Yeah. Come on. What are you doing? You need a break? You're just like, I'm just going to punch this guy in the head, and it just doesn't make any sense because you're winning, you're dominating. And there's another one too where it was like a frustration call where the Phillies guys, you hear the whistle and then he punches them. I'm like, what the hell? It's like you're trying to self-sabotage, but whatever. Keep the edge, go into game 4. I think the Penguins, even if it gets to 2-2 as a series, I don't think it will go 7. It could go 6, but right now it's looking like it's going to be over in 5. So I think that's what a lot of predictions were. Do we even give actual predictions? I'd say I'd still lean towards 6 games. Penguins will win in Philadelphia. That's my prediction. You have a prediction, Matt?
No, I don't, because every time we give predictions, they're wrong. So I'm just going to go Pens.
Well, I'm hoping my wrong prediction is Penguins in 5, Matt. That's where I was going with that. But yeah, the second series, and it's looking like, I don't think they reseed these, but it's looking like it's going to be Columbus, which is going to be so ironic that they dodged Pittsburgh in the opening round, and there's a good chance the Columbus is going to do Pittsburgh the favor of eliminating the Capitals, because what was going to be brutal is you have the Flyers, a physical team, and then the Caps, another physical team, back-to-back for a team that has won the past 2 Stanley Cups. You've already been deep in the playoffs. That's where you get into problems. But Columbus, I think, the Penguins, even though their games have been like 1-goal games, they're not as physical, and I think the Penguins match up well with them. So I actually am leaning forward to that. They're up 2-0 right now on the Caps. So I hope that stands. And then, to be honest, on the other side, I'm just going through the bracket now. I was hoping that Tampa Bay or Boston, one of them would get upset in the first round and then get upset again, just so the Penguins wouldn't have to play them. Because I don't want to be... I hear a lot of fans, they're like, well, and this is especially true during the NBA or the NCAA tournament. They're like, well, I don't want the higher seeds in front of our team to lose because I want the team to earn it. No, that's a lie. You're an idiot if you say that. You want your team to have the easiest path because then you're still playing in the playoffs. If you're facing all these tough teams, your team's going to be beat up and get beat down. Like, look what happened with Michigan and Florida State, Matt. Would you have rather had Florida State had to play more top teams and had a chance of being eliminated early? No. You would want to play Loyola in the Final Four like Michigan did. Because why would you want to lose in the Final Four? Why would you want to have played Virginia or someone? Take the Loyola and just enjoy it. So, fans, that's what I'm hoping here. You can nag on me or whatever, come at me on Twitter, but I really don't want to play Tampa Bay or Boston, if I'm being honest. So, here's to the Devils and the Leafs. They're both down 2-1. I just think that those two teams are the matchup problems that you don't want in the Eastern Conference Finals, if we're getting lucky. You have any thoughts on the East?
No, I don't. I just think handle your business. You're a two-time Stanley Cup winner, and I don't care. They are the top seed. They need to act like it. They just need to continue doing what they're doing, and I think they'll be fine. I don't think that there should be anyone that really poses a threat because they've been there. They know what it takes. The key players are still there. It's not like you're completely redrafting and starting with a brand new franchise. So win. Do your job.
All right. Yeah. We're going to use that to segue into the West. And people that have been there, what about teams that haven't, Matt? Like the Vegas Golden Knights. 3-0.
Do you mean the Pittsburgh Penguins West?
3-0. Is there any team that's looking more like a threat to win the West than them? I don't know. We said early that was going to be the team. We were on them early in the year. If you go back to our shows, I'm pretty sure we had a show where we highlighted them as a topic. I could be wrong. I know they were definitely on our topics for the list. They might not have been a title topic, but we definitely hit on them because they drafted so well in the fantasy draft. And I'll say it again. I'm pretty sure I made this argument before, but I think the Vegas Golden Knights is the best expansion team since the Jaguars and Panthers. They both made it to the divisional championship. Was it year 2? They had the best draft since those, and that's going across any sport. You would think it'd be easier in basketball, but teams like that really don't work out. Some people might think the Thunder, but the Thunder weren't an expansion team. They were the Seattle Supersonics that kind of just went ahead. And I mean, really, you're going to compare it to the expansion Browns. Browns can't get anything right. So I'd say those are the two best expansion drafts. And it took the Jaguars and Panthers both to their second year to make a run. Vegas is doing it in their first year. So kudos to them. Another team I want to bring up, the Ducks. You're down 3-0. And I had to look this up because they win the division every year. I'm looking at it. They won it 2012, 13, 14, 15, and the 16, 17. They win their division. And they always lose in the playoffs. They're as bad as the Capitals. They're basically, them in Washington are the Peyton Manning Award winners. And I'll keep using Peyton Award as a joke, just because I don't care if he won 2 Super Bowls. Whenever you're that highly touted coming in, you should win a few Super Bowls. Just like these teams. You can't be division champ all these times. I know, they won a Stanley Cup back in 2006-07. I got it. So did the Carolina Hurricanes. They won one back in the mid-2000s. Look where they're at. They're not trying to get back in. The Ducks are right there. So I feel bad for their fans. You're down. And I know the Sharks are a good team. They went deep. Didn't we beat them? Was that the Stanley Cup? Was that the first one? The Sharks? I believe so, right?
Yeah, Sharks and then the Preds.
And then the Predators. So, I mean, some franchises are just winners. They'll get there. But it's looking like Sharks Vegas. I think that's going to be a killer matchup right now, unless someone does the dreaded up 3-0 fail. And then on the West side, I've been really watching the Predators and Avalanche because growing up in the 90s, I mean, you had the Penguins being a Pennsylvania kid, but the other two big teams, the heavy hitters, the Red Wings and the Avalanche. If you were a hockey fan, you had to root for those teams. You might not have had a favorite out of those two, but you had respect. Because it's respect for an opponent, because they were both heavy-hitting franchises, Patrick Waugh, Joe Sakic, and the Avalanche took that and have turned it into basically nothing. The Red Wings have made, I think they beat the Penguins one Stanley Cup, and then they lost one in, was like 2009, that was a year, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
They've made another run, but the Avalanche have fallen off the map for over a decade. And it's good to see them finally get back in when you have all these upstart teams. Like Vegas making a run before the Avalanche get back into it is such a slap in the face to a great franchise that I think they could do more. Go ahead, Matt.
I tell you what, though, with the way that Vegas, with the way the expansion draft played out, Vegas really was able to take advantage. And I talked to a good friend of mine who follows hockey, and I asked because I wasn't sure if, with all the draft picks that they had, if they were going to run into any issues with the cap. Because I thought they were going to have to trade away half their team just to make the cap space. And what he explained to me was that the logic behind their draft was to take as many like name brand players as possible, so that in the early part of the year, if it looked like they were going to be competitive, then they could just market and push for the competitive team in the playoffs. But if it looked like they were going to be a dumpster fire, then before the trade deadline, they had plenty of bait that then they could use and take it either way. They could take it and give all those players back to different teams and acquire draft picks and basically build their franchise via draft. Or if it looked like they were going to put together a run, they had players that they could make a move or two to try to get pieces for a playoff push, or to essentially just stay put. And they cherry picked off of, winning franchises like the Penguins, picking up key players from organizations that have been deep in the playoffs. So it's not like they came in with a bunch of bums that had no idea what they're doing. They came in with a seasoned roster. It was just a matter of getting them to gel, and you're seeing the success in year one.
Yeah, and that's something I heard too. And with that, the goalie is a big key. You have a Stanley Cup winning goalie on your team. That really doesn't happen. That would be like an NFL team drafting a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Yeah, and I'm not talking about who won it this year, Foles. Like that might be a chance where like Foles would have been in the expansion draft if that happened in the NFL this year. But most years that's not going to happen. And so you just so lucked out that you have a veteran team. And I think with the expansion drafts, other sports are going to take the same approach, because both usually you have the same option. Teams will put some rookies that have some high talent up there, that potential, and a lot of teams draft that potential instead of getting the veterans. Where if you put together a veteran team that they know their careers are going to be ending, they're going to work hard and put together their playoff experience, which is what you're seeing happen. So they're definitely taking advantage of a great situation. So it's looking like, I don't know, I thought Nashville might make a run again. I'm really hoping the Avs clinch them. Again, same reason. I would like to see, if the Penguins did make it all the way, I would like to see them play Vegas. The other series, Winnipeg's up 2-1. I'm kind of cheering for them, and I'll tell you why. They're one of only two Canadian teams in the playoffs right now, and I always want to see a Canadian team go deep just because it means so much more up there, and just to have the Penguins crush their dreams would be awesome. I know you're laughing, but that's good logic, isn't it? Could you imagine if Winnipeg made it all the way to the finals and then got slammed by Sid the Kid? It'd be awesome. So that's the end of my NHL talk. Matt, you have anything else?
How do you follow that up? Move topics.
All right, next topic. NBA playoffs. I know you between me or texted me a bunch about Ben Simmons and the 76ers, so I added this on here today. The NBA playoffs are such a weird thing this year, and I'll tell you why. Because the Cavaliers, and I think it's pretty clear that LeBron has GM'd this team into a complete nightmare. they're down 0-1, and I know 0-1 early doesn't really matter, but it was a home game to the Pacers. You're down 0-1. 76ers, they took it to Miami the first game, and then they dropped the second. So they're sitting at 1-1. But realistically, the 76ers path, they could, I don't want to get your hopes up, Matt, but they could get to the finals this year. Because if I'm looking at this, I'm going to take you through it right here, and then I'll let you talk. So Philadelphia's playing Miami. I think that's kind of a tough matchup for them, kind of youth on youth, but the 76ers should be able to handle them. In round 2, it's looking like they're going to get the Celtics. I think the Celtics are up right now on Milwaukee. They won the first game. I'll see if this has it. But Boston is without Kyrie. And I don't think Gordon Hayward came back. So they're without 2 of their stud players. Nothing. Oh, yeah, Celtics are killing the Bucks today. This is 92-75 as we're live. So if you're watching both or listening, whatever you need to do, if you're listening to podcasts, that will probably be a Celtics win. So the Sixers have a chance. They just got to get through Miami. You get through Miami, you play a depleted Celtics team. And to be honest, I think the Miami series is a good warm-up series for Philadelphia because their players haven't been in the playoffs that long. Boston, you have a team that the talent's not there because of injuries, where you're going to get that environment and you can kind of get used to it right in time for the Eastern Finals against who? If Indiana eliminates Cleveland, it's going to be what? Toronto's up 2-0, and the Toronto, they're like the Capitals of the NBA. They win the division, and everyone's like, Toronto? How did Toronto win? Or whatever, like they're going to finish as one of the higher seeds. Were they the one this year? They are the 1 seed. So they're like, Toronto, yeah, of course they get some good guys, but they're not really a threat. They're going to lose to LeBron or whoever in the finals. So maybe Toronto dodges them, and then you have a crazy Toronto versus Philly Eastern Conference Finals, which then, like I said with Michigan, Matt, get to the championship game, and anything can happen. Remember that one in like the early 2000s where the NBA rigged it? Was that a game? Could you imagine?
What the hell are you on tonight?
Dude, they rigged that one series. You'll know what I'm talking about. Was it the Kobe one? Look that up. It has happened. So nothing better to push the process to the next level is if you get to the finals and the NBA is like, we've had enough of these Warriors in here. Let's get some young blood in because they're going to be the future. They make a few bad calls, Matt. A few years down the road, one of the refs said that they were betting on the games, and you have a whole conspiracy. And I think right there, that is going to be your path to the 76ers winning the NBA Finals. And hopefully not the Flyers, which would be funny if Philadelphia won every championship except for hockey because Pittsburgh had it again. But what are your thoughts, Matt? You've been watching these 76ers?
Actually, in true bandwagon fashion, for as much as I've railed against the Sixers and the process, I really haven't been watching that many games. Now that they're in the playoffs, I have actually started tuning in and watching a little bit more than just the random highlights. I'm curious to see how they're going to play. They're holding their own right now in the series. I want to see what happens when they get Embiid back, because the game's kind of evolving over the last couple of years with Steph Curry playing as well as they are with Golden State with a smaller lineup. Embiid brings that big body back. Does that shift the dynamic, as they go deeper into the playoffs to a more big man focused, slow the tempo down type game? I know they're hitting shots right now that hopefully they can keep that pace going. I think it just, you see that they're moving the ball well. I like what I'm seeing from the Sixers. I mean, it sucks that you had to go through as bad of a rebuild and reboot and tanking as they went through to get to this point, but you got to give credit to the former GM for putting the pieces and doing the things that he did, because they have a legit team on their hands now for the next couple of years. Yeah,
it's something that it's going to be it's going to be something that's going to take them deep. The Embiid thing's going to be big, depending on who they play, if they would get to the finals, because you're going to have someone with the center that may give teams fits. It's going to be something to watch. Would be the New Orleans Pelicans. They have Anthony Davis, who everyone has said should be a contender for Player of the Year every year, but he plays that outdated center position. So right now they're up 1-0 in Portland. If they were to win that game, they play Golden State in the second round. How does Golden State handle that? Because if you remember, a few years ago when Tim Duncan was there in his prime, they were making runs when no one thought they could because they were able to control the paint. You're not going to hit threes for 4 games out of every 7-game series. You're just not. You're going to have to win a game or two just on grit. And if you remember, they were able to do that and eliminate even the Heat. And the Heat had LeBron who can get into the paint, but when you have someone that big that can disrupt it, and those teams in the West, they don't have a LeBron. Even if you look at Kevin Durant on the Warriors, he's not LeBron. He doesn't drive like him. He's more of a stay back and pop, I'm going to shoot the ball. And if you have a good center that can control the game and force these guys to hit the outside shots, like make them do it. Make them do it, get the rebounds, control the tempo, and own the paint. Really, there's not that many good centers in the league, but if you look back to when Duncan did it, some of the other guys, Howard gave people fits. Is he still with the Rockets? No, he's not. So really, what are you doing? Like, you're going to have your center take heavy minutes. Is Anthony Davis going to be able to break that bond on the West? And then that would be even crazier is if you don't have one of those small teams make it. Anything can happen. Right now, I would bet the Vegas line. If you were going to bet on this, you could bet on any West team, and it would be probably minus 1,000 or so. Like, it would be a bad line. Just because I think any West team right now, if you're looking at it, there's a good chance the West team lines up. But like I said, just get into the finals, and anything can happen. And right now, with
I will say this though.
Go ahead.
As far as the basketball stuff's concerned, I'm actually kind of surprised with the way that this year and the way that the playoffs have shaken up, because of the way that we talked way back almost a year ago, how we talked about these super teams and everyone, aligning with either Golden State or Cleveland. The way that everything shaped up with LeBron, the GM, trading players out, it almost diluted the conferences. So you didn't have the superpowers that we had originally stressed could potentially cause a haves and have-nots of the league. And so by doing that shift, and then I think also it helped. Not that you would want this to happen, but you had the injuries to teams like the Celtics. Open the door for a team that has a very rookie-esque team like the Sixers, and it gives them an open door to walk their way to the finals. They've been bitten with the injury bug with injuries to Simmons, with Fultz and his weird jump shot issues, Embiid with his face stuff that he's going to probably end up wearing the mask with. I mean, they've dealt with injuries, but it's like they're now getting to a point where they're healthy enough. They're getting the minutes together, and I think that it actually is making for a decent playoff opening round. You're not having these blowout super teams just completely sweeping out the door. You're seeing a little bit more competitive than I think we would have imagined a couple months prior.
Well, I'll add a couple points here. I think it benefits them being in an actual series. I don't think it hurts them at all if this would go to Game 7. Because if you remember, it wasn't that long ago when the Paul Pierce Celtics teams would go against LeBron. Those Celtics teams, even how stacked they were, they would go Game 7 in almost every series. They would go to Game 7 against the Bulls, squeak one out. They would go to Game 7 against someone else, the Hawks, squeak one out. And then they would go Game 7 against the Celtics or the Cavaliers and squeak one out. And then they would go Game 7 in the finals and they won one against Lakers, or they lost one to the Lakers. So it doesn't matter. If you're a young team, going to Game 7 can help, because then after a while, the nerves and stuff will get pushed down in the playoffs. Where if you have teams that are going on the sweep, that's only going to benefit. Like if Boston would sweep Milwaukee and Philadelphia goes deep in the playoffs, I honestly think that favors the Sixers. You're going to have a couple more games under your belt in the playoffs. Celtics are hurt, and I think the Celtics injuries, I don't want to make them to be more than what they are, but I think that really hurts your look at the power teams for this year. Like you said, Matt, what are the superstar teams? There's really only 4 that off the top of my head that I can name. Maybe some diehard NBA guys would know better, but you have the Rockets, who have Chris Paul, was it Joe Johnson, and James Harden. So you have your big 3 there. They also have Trevor Ariza, which I'm pretty sure played key minutes in some of those. Were they the Lakers? Was you deep with the Lakers? And they have Eric Gordon. So they have some guys that make them a legit scary contender, and they're the 1 seed in the West. Then you have Golden State, who shake out to be the 2 seed. So I think with the Celtics injuries, you're really only looking at the Cavs in the East. But in the West, you have the top 2 seeds right now who are going to win. If things hold, they will win their first round series, and then they're going to go up against basically Oklahoma City, which is the opposite of the Rockets. Their players left, and it's pretty much just Westbrook trying to do it himself, trying to do the Jordan thing, like, no, you're going to win with me. We're going to win here for Oklahoma City. I'm not jumping teams to get a ring. That type of thing, where Jordan lost to the Pistons how many years in a row before he finally broke through. So I'm really hoping Westbrook gets that, but you're going to have to, it's looking like he's going to have to run through 2 super teams, unless the Pelicans and Anthony Davis can kind of disrupt that game and get a bunch of rebounds and hope they miss. I really don't know how you could beat those. So it's going to shake out. If Cleveland does lose, and they might not lose this series, they might make it all the way. I don't know. It's only 1 game. And when is that game? Is it going to be tonight? Probably not. The NBA site, awful. All right, here it is. They do have the games. So it is it tomorrow? I don't even know what date it is. I think it is tomorrow. So they play tomorrow. I'll be watching the Penguins for the most part that day. But that's a key game to watch. Watch the Celtics. If not, cheer for the East. If you're not an NBA fan, cheer for an East team. It's going to be David versus Goliath. You have the super teams on the West, most likely the Rockets or Golden State in the finals, even though the Rockets haven't really made it in their franchise since, the Hakeem years, and they lost. Or no, they won with Hakeem, didn't they, when Jordan was out? So I think the franchise has won a few. I'd have to look that up. I don't know my NBA history off the top of my head that good, but that's what I would say. If you're not an NBA fan, if you're from Pennsylvania, if you're from Pittsburgh, whatever, you don't know what team to cheer for the Sixers. Give it a run. They tried to build their team the old-fashioned way, and I know it hurts to cheer for a Philadelphia team, but they really have the best chance to take down one of the superpowers, and I really believe that. So that's my ending for the show. Matt, you have anything else to add?
Nope. Go Sixers. Hopefully they run into the LeBrons and can beat them. Do the state proud.
Get to the finals. Anything can happen. Like I said, just hope anything can happen. Penguins play tomorrow. The Flyers, make sure you're cheering for them. I will say that our website is up. I'm still missing some of our old episode show notes. I'm trying to get some show notes and stuff up there. But one of the features that I added since we moved to our own platform is I did a live chat for the Penguins-Flyers game. Was it on Sunday? As a test run, and I'm planning on doing it for every Penguins game. It's something I used to run a Pirates fan site that got a lot of traction back before. Actually, it's very relevant now. Twitter doesn't show highlights chronologically anymore, so if you're trying to follow a game away from home, it makes it very, very tough. So check it out. It's probably going to be southboundsports.com/live-chat, or maybe we'll just do chat or something to make it easier. But we're going to have a page where if it's a big-time playoff game, you can go in right now I'm still working through some technical issues with the software I'm using. It says like login or something. You do not need a login. Just type in whatever your username is and it will show up. Of course, it's a live chat. It'll be scrubbed. I'm posting the administrator comments, which will most likely be me, unless Matt, Jeff, Rick, one of the other guys gets on and put those up. So they'll be on Apple News after the game if you want to read our little recap. But something that I'm going to try to do for every live Pittsburgh playoff game and maybe some other games in between. Could be every Steelers game, maybe just a general NFL chat all day. I don't know. But check that out. I'll be pushing it out more and more. I tweeted it out once. I didn't push it out too much because I didn't know how the server would handle it. I think there were 3 or 4 people on. So definitely check that out and hopefully get that expanded. But that's it for this week. Follow us on Southbound Sports on Facebook and Instagram. I'll tweet out our empty Pittsburgh Pirates Stadium pick and S-Bound Sports on Twitter. And we'll see you guys next week.